I'm going to call Council-in-Committee to order. My name is Councillor Tom Gill, and I'm the acting mayor for this month. And during our CIC process, we always have the acting mayor who chairs the meeting. So that's the reason why I'm sitting in this chair today, and particularly Greg, so you'll know why we do these crazy things in Surrey. So we've got three delegations this afternoon, and just in terms of time, we are running a few minutes behind, so I'm going to ask the delegations to keep within their 15 minutes. So the first delegation we have is Greg Moore, the board chair, and Raymond Louis, the board vice chair, and Carol Mason, and the Commissioner Chief Administrative Officer for Metro Vancouver. Welcome to our great city, folks.
Thanks. I heard the future lives here.
Absolutely does. Absolutely does.
So thanks for having us, and again, I'll start off, it's never good to start off a presentation by apologizing, but we apologize for scheduling the Council of Councils at the same time as your big Vaisakhi parade, and we did it 2 years in a row, and we'll try to do better next year that we don't do it next year. So with that, we thought that we would do an abbreviated version of what we're going to do on Saturday, and so that you have the same information, and if you have any questions, of course, we'd be glad to take them. Okay, so the first item that we're going to talk about, and something that we're doing at Metro Vancouver, one of the things at Metro Vancouver, and I think you'll see a theme throughout this presentation, is Metro is becoming a collaborator of regional discussions. And Metro is not suggesting that we're going to grow or expand the service delivery that Metro is doing, but we see Metro as the ability to bring together not only just local government, but also different stakeholders to have some of these regional discussions. And who knows where those discussions go, but setting the table and having the right people there is a step forward in some of these regional challenges. So one is around the industrial land use, and Metro plays a role in three main areas around industrial land use. Through policy, things like the Metro 2040, our regional growth strategy, through research, and last week we released the third. Every 5 years we do an industrial land inventory to take a look at how the industrial land's being used. Are we expanding or is it reducing? And since 2010 to 2015, in fact, there was a reduction of about 873 acres of industrial land in the region. So something that's, I think, a concern for all of us. And then the last part is through convening a multi-sector discussions. And that's what we're about to do this year, is we're going to bring together different groups, whether from the port authorities and some of their users to other industrial land users, logistics users, developers, to try to understand how we can, what our land inventory looks like in the industrial area. Are there changes that we need to make to policy, whether it's at the regional level or down to the local level? And what opportunities do we have in the industrial land area, and how can we maybe use our industrial land differently? Some terms like densification of industrial land is starting to percolate up. Instead of building big boxes with big seas of parking, maybe make them 2 or 3 stories in different areas of town and that sort of thing, mixing them with residential or other commercial uses. And so we're going to convene that discussion this year, and of course Surrey and all of our members will be a part of it. The other major consultation that we've done over the last few years is around the regional affordable housing strategy. And as you can see, we've done lots of stakeholder meetings, municipal meetings over the last couple of years, meetings with obviously transit and other authorities. And we've come together, and you can see here that we endorsed the final regional affordable housing strategy, or we hoped, in June 10th. We brought it to the board, and now we're going out and having more discussions on what the implementation looks like. How does that affordable housing strategy mix with what might be going on here in Surrey for affordable housing, and bringing together that regional perspective with the local perspective. One site-specific, and obviously you guys know we're a massive utility, and one of the great pieces of news that we got with the federal budget was the Lionsgate Sewage Treatment Plant was actually named in the federal budget. $212 million was named in that. It's hard to actually see on this picture, but it's in the lower half there with the green roof. That's in the district of North Van, right next to the city of North Vancouver, and that'll replace the existing facility. We've been working on this for a long time now. So to get that federal funding, we've had a meeting with Minister Fassbender to ensure that the provincial funding is there. We're in we did the RFQ stage of the procurement, so we're going to be moving into the RFP stage, and hopefully by January next year we'll have a proponent chosen, and then they can get on with it and we can get a shovel in the ground, because as most of you will recall, we have a federal and provincial government deadline to have that facility with secondary treatment up and running by 2020. And as much as that seems like it's a few years away, we all know major infrastructure projects take a few years to construct. One of the other big initiatives that we're working on that's kind of quietly going on, but is the Regional Prosperity Initiative. One of the things that the Metro Vancouver Board said 4 years ago was we need to look at how we promote this region, how we promote Metro Vancouver internationally, how we look at economic development. And we all have, well, not all of us, we don't in Port Coquitlam, but most cities, and Surrey definitely does, has its own economic development process and time and energy that goes into that. And we're not saying that we should do it instead of or for, but to complement what's going on. And so we have a Metro Vancouver task force, which Mayor Hepner is on, and Mayor Robertson, Mayor Stewart, Mayor Masato, and myself sit on. We also have an external stakeholder group with the port and the airport and BC Business Council. We've been reaching out to all the chambers and boards of trades around the region. We've been reaching out to the SFU. We met with the president of SFU and UBC and BCIT. We've met with some unions, and we're bringing them all together around what does it look like if we all work together. And the reason that we chose regional prosperity instead of economic development, because economic development might be one sector within looking at regional prosperity, but we can't thrive as an economy if we don't implement the transit plan, if we don't have affordable housing, if maybe we need to do a region-wide business license for mobile businesses. Those sort of tools and those sort of initiatives that when you bring together local government, industry, academia, and unions all working together to about what happens when we actually get to regional prosperity. So on April 27th, we have a really big day for us in Metro Vancouver. We're launching this regional prosperity discussion. So the task force meetings have been going on. We've been having meetings with the outside groups. We released a green paper back in December. But this is the time when we're bringing business leaders, community leaders, Mayor Hepner's on one of the panels, to talk about, and we're actually bringing in the CEO of the Denver Regional Economic Development Office, or whatever his job title is there. But they've been doing it for 33 years. Ironically, they have 33 local governments in Denver, and they've been doing it really well. And there is a lot of lessons to learn there about how to bring all of these different sectors together. So he's going to kick it off. We're going to talk about investing in Metro Vancouver and what some of the businesses are that are investing. We're going to talk about lessons learned. We're going to present a strategy to go forward. Then we're going to talk about how we go from this idea to, over the next 6 months to a year, to putting it into fruition and launching this new group. Again, it's not going to be under the Metro umbrella. It's going to be a new organization to try to bring all of these different groups together for the regional prosperity. So that's it. There you go. That's much quicker than 4 hours on Saturday morning. If you have any questions, Carol and I would be pleased to take them.
So I've got Councillor Hayne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks very much for the presentation. Very informative. I was at UBCM meetings last week, and I sit on their Economic Development Committee, and they were very interested in this Regional Prosperity Forum and the whole concept of Metro taking this on. Is there an opportunity for someone at UBCM to attend the forum on the 27th, or to get more information, that sort of thing? Because I know that they'd like to look at different regions around the province and learn from what's happening at the Metro table.
Sure, yeah, we'll do that for sure. They are, Carol and Vice Chair Louie presented at, there's another group that gets together once a year. It's the Regional District Chairs and CAOs. They get together once a year, and Carol was presenting, and Raymond presented there a while ago with UBCM. So yeah, we'll reach out to them. I think that's a great idea.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mayor Hepner.
Thanks for coming and giving us the overview of what we're going to be missing as we celebrate Earth Day and Party for the Planet, as well as Visaki, both on the same day here as well. as your important meeting. I just want to make a comment and see if my understanding is correct, and that has to do with industrial land. And what I heard you say, and what I'm hoping you're saying, is that the conversation is really around the better utilization of existing industrial lands in the area and the potential to talk the densification, and not some mechanism of control of industrial land, since the city of Surrey has been very careful to control its own industrial land, and I think we now hold about 40 to 45% of what is left in this region. So as we see other people vacating industrial land for a higher tax base, and I suppose that might even happen with, for instance, I don't know, the Molson site in Vancouver and whatever they're going to do there. We're preserving industrial land for those jobs, and that is at the expense of changing its use to what might potentially be a higher tax benefit to our city. And what I want to make sure is that that's not where you're headed as Metro.
So I think you're bang on, but I think the other part too is to emphasize to some of the other local governments that might be taking good quality industrial land and converting it to higher and better use. I think that's an oxymoron in terms, because I think good quality, 285,000 jobs are related to industrial land in this region. So to erode it to put up a shiny glass tower is also not good for your own city in most cases. So it's not to say, it's to also reflect back on what's happening where industrial land is being eroded. So that 200 or 873 acres that's disappeared since 2010 to 2015, I think we need to take a look at that and look where that's happening and why, and what are the effects of that. The North Shore, for example, they just did a major traffic study, and one of the challenges one of the things that's contributing to the high volumes of traffic is all of the mobile businesses, so your contractors and that sort of thing can't afford to live there, and their shops aren't there anymore because they've been squeezed out like you suggested. So they're living in your community, in my community, and commuting to the North Shore. That has a major effect on the transportation system. So let's have that discussion as part of industrial land as well.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, if I may, just in terms of our ALR base, as you're aware, City of Surrey has 1/3 of our landmass in the ALR. So the question I have specifically is, the ability to support that kind of infrastructure, whether it's roads, ditches, and that kind of thing. I'm not quite sure if Metro Vancouver has been very vocal in terms of what is required to kind of support those kind of lands, both currently and moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess from a policy perspective, Metro 2040 would be the strongest document that we have to preserve those lands. Metro doesn't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, but we don't financially contribute to the enhancement of agricultural lands anywhere in the region. We have a food strategy, or a food security strategy on how to better utilize and preserve agricultural land.
So I think the question is more related to the challenge of ensuring that those lands continue for the foreseeable future, no differently than accepting all our industrial bases that we have and supporting that. So again, just in the context of the region, I personally feel that we're doing more than our fair share, but certainly we do have challenges in our great city given the use of lands.
For sure.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, thank you for coming out, Greg. Appreciate
Excellent,
it.
and I'll just leave it with this. It was a great day on Saturday when we opened the Surrey Bend Regional Park. Thanks for you that attended. I think it's your biggest park in Surrey by landmass now, which is really exciting. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go out there to check out this passive park, that there's trails, and for those of you that have kids or grandkids, there's some really great natural climbing structures. It's a real asset for the region and for Surrey. So thanks so much.
Thank you for coming out. So we're going to move on to our next delegation. We've got Dr. Targo, the President of CEO of Justice Institute of BC. Dr. Targo.
Good afternoon, Acting Mayor and Council. It's a real honor and privilege for me to be here today. This presentation is really about outreach from the Office of the President to different cities and chambers throughout the Lower Mainland. What I'm going to share with you is a 4-minute video telling the story of the Justice Institute of BC, looking back the last 40 years, and then I'll touch on new programming in support of public safety and community safety in closing before our questions and answers. So Don, if I could have the video.
Justice Institute of British Columbia fulfills a vital role, providing innovative education, training, and applied research to keep communities safe. Every year, more than 34,000 students take our rigorous programs and courses or complete customized training in public safety. On our 7 BC campuses, face-to-face or through technology-enabled online learning in communities around the province, across Canada and the world, our students learn from expert instructors who are active in their professional fields.
One of the secrets of training public safety professionals is that you have to use scenarios. You have to experience it to understand the interplay, dealing with the public, dealing with the patient, dealing with individuals in stressful situations.
The benefit of applied research is that it's real, it's practical, it's hands-on, and it can really improve current practice.
That real-life simulation training was very beneficial to me when I got to my workplace. It was a key to my success.
So when the day comes that our graduates are needed in the community, they're ready.
You get the opportunity of actually applying what you're learning and asking questions, which gives you just a whole different meaning to what you're doing.
Since JIBC was founded as a public post-secondary institution in 1978, we have grown and evolved. JIBC provides world-class police, corrections, sheriffs, paramedic, and firefighting education and training. And we do much more in areas such as emergency management, conflict resolution, Aboriginal studies, and driver training.
As an instructor, when I come in, if something's going on out there that's different than what we're teaching in the program, the Justice Institute of BC is willing to change that program to meet the needs of the workers out in the field.
We have excellent quality in terms of teachers, and they're doing research, they are practicing at the same time.
It really connects, with your instructors. They're approachable, they're intelligent, and they'll work really, really hard to make sure that your needs are put first and you're going to get to where you want to go.
Our programs lead to certificates, diplomas, bachelor's degrees, and graduate credentials. What's most important is our graduates make a difference every day.
So being a paramedic is an extremely rewarding and exciting experience. You really get to get in there, help some people on possibly the worst day of their lives, and really make a change.
Myself, I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference in the families I work with, the communities, and the youth.
I consider myself a lifelong learner. I think it's really important to continue your professional development, and JIBC offers that for me.
I've never found a place that is more understanding and willing to support you in your education goals and your career goals.
Feeling of accomplishment after you complete the course is amazing. You really feel like you've done something.
You're going to get the education with academics, you're going to get the education with scenarios, and you're going to get it from people who practice it in the field, do it for real life, and do it today, so that when you come out tomorrow, you're going to be confident in your ability.
JIBC, Canada's leading public safety educator. Go to www.jibc.ca to learn more.
Great, thank you, Don. What I'd like to say is the video is already dated 3 years, and we've downsized from 7 campuses down to 6. We did close our Vancouver satellite, and we're looking at shared space with BCIT and Vancouver Community College. As a provincial institute, our mandate is the province, and so where we don't have satellite campuses, which is in Kelowna, Chilliwack, Maple Ridge, Pitt Meadows, and Victoria, we will partner with community colleges and universities in delivering specific programs related to community and public safety. In the video, they talked about offering programs that really ladder from a one-year certificate into a two-year diploma, and our diploma programs ladder into third year of our baccalaureates. We don't have a large menu of programs in terms of public safety because that's our mandate, but I just wanted to touch on that we do offer a bachelor's degree in public safety administration, 2 years post-diploma online, and that's really to support operational leaders in the first responder professions that we work with. We offer a face-to-face bachelor's degree in law enforcement. Those students who are coming to the Institute often come believing that they want to be in the police business. And really after the first 2 years, they've been exposed to the spectrum of careers across law enforcement. They probably didn't know much about what a sheriff did, what a correctional officer did, a probation officer, or any roles with CBSA and CIC. And so giving them opportunities to have exposure to those careers happens at the Institute. At the graduate level, we've moved into that space in 2009, where we offer a graduate program in intelligence analysis online, and that's really preparing folks to be analysts to filter data for decision makers. Today we have 2 concentrations. One is in the space of business intelligence, and so that's preparing analysts for the banking and insurance sector, as well as government and municipal. The second stream is tactical crime, and that analyst is really being prepared to work with law enforcement, including CSIS and CBSA and military. Our other graduate program is in the area of public safety leadership, again preparing folks at the strategic policy level as compared to the bachelor's in public safety admin at the operational level. We also offer, you saw in the video, a graduate program in complex trauma, and that's really working with folks who have had multiple trauma through their life. The video didn't talk about some of our technology, and that relates to what we call today Praxis, where we're able to run exercises and simulations remotely, whether or not that's with small business and industry, to exercise their business continuity plans and or look at developing scenarios as it relates to emergency preparedness and response. We do a lot of work with municipal government, provincial government, and the federal government in that space, and I would invite any members of council to reach out to my office, and we would love to invite you on campus and show you more of what we do. I won't take any more of your time, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. I don't see any questions, so I just want to thank you for coming out today. Most appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be in Surrey.
Our final delegation is Andrew Gerard from New Westminster and District Labour Council, and Jenny Kilby, the President of QP 402, to appear before Council to speak of the day of mourning for workers killed and injured on the job. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Gerard from the New West District Labour Council. I'm going to just want to thank the Council for having us here and giving this presentation. This is about the day of mourning, workers killed and injured on the job. Each year, the New Westminster and District Labour Council presents to the municipal councils with our region to seek their support and recognition of April 28th as the day of mourning for workers killed and injured on the job. The Labour Council's presentation is designed to be educational and informative. We believe that the workplace health and safety is everyone's responsibility. The purpose of the day of mourning is twofold: to remember workers killed and injured on the job, and to prevent future injuries. This year, our presentation will highlight the work unions have done to bring accountability, education, and change to our workplaces, work that will reduce the number of workers killed and injured on the job. Unions have made an enormous contribution to the health and safety of their members and our communities, and union efforts to achieve significant legislative change has benefited all workers in British Columbia. Positive change happens when we all work together. Toxic-Free Canada, for example, worked with the Canadian Union of Public Employees to develop an action plan for using toxic clean free clean products in BC schools. This action not only protected the health of working people, but also our children and our environment. Initiatives such as these have been adopted in other workplaces, such as hospitals and healthcare facilities. Together with other organizations, unions are dedicated to making workplace health and safety a priority. The BC Federation of Labour's Health and Safety Centre has evolved into a centre of excellence for occupational health and safety training and education in British Columbia. The centre's programming is open to everyone, regardless of their current work status, including students. The programming courses help to remove traditional barriers to health and safety education, with workshop courses for occupational health and safety committees, young workers, immigrant workers, including English as a second language ESL programs, and migrant workers. The centre has helped thousands of individuals, organizations and companies learn through a participatory learning module. Participants learn how to exercise their rights and their role and responsibility of workers, management and employers. There is a new hope for change in health and safety culture of our workplace through accountability. I would like to update you on the Steelworker campaign to stop the killing, enforce the law. In his 2016 report, Brother Steve Hunt starts by taking us back to the much celebrated opening of the West Stray coal mine in Nova Scotia in September 1991. Workers and their families were flocking back to the area based on the promise of good-paying jobs for at least 15 years. But over time, workers became more uneasy about the way the mine was being run. The United Steelworkers began an organizing campaign to represent the workers, starting in March 1992. During the campaign, union organizer Mike Pitchie listed to workers' fears, not just to their lives, but for the consequences of complaining to management. If something isn't done soon here, men are going to die, he told the National Director, Leo Gerard, in an anxious phone conversation. In the early morning of May 9th, a blue flame lit up the dawn sky and a black cloud roared from the mine portal, a massive coal dust blast, triggered by a methane explosion. All 26 miners working that morning died. From that moment on, the West Stray disaster became the stuff of legend. All that is left to see today in Pictou, Nova Scotia, is a park located on the ground covering the shattered mine below, along with a memorial of the 26 miners. Their lights will shine, says the monument bearing each of their names. Their lights continue to shine for the United Steelworkers. The union still maintains connections with the families and survivors and remains committed to the struggle that they started on behalf of the West Stray miners before the disaster ever happened. The United Steelworkers West Stray campaign led to Bill C-45, which amended the Criminal Code of Canada to assign criminal liability to organizations for acts of their representatives. The West Stray Amendment was passed unanimously in the House of Commons in late 2003 and was proclaimed into law in early 2004. But more than a decade later, that trust has been broken time and time again. 1,000 workers killed each year. Investigations by law enforcement that do not view workplace fatalities through a lens of criminal liability, responsibility passed off to provincial regulators who have no power to lay criminal charges. Criminal charges dropped or bargained away in exchange for fines that companies still see only as a cost of doing business. And so the steelworkers fight on to stop the killing and enforce the law. At their 2013 National Policy Conference, steelworkers debated the lack of action to stop death and serious injuries in the workplace. Speaker after speaker expressed anger that since it was passed into law in 2004, not one senior management representative had spent a minute in jail. Delegates passed a resolution that directed their union to enforce the Westray Amendments. The steelworkers resolved that their union lobby provincial and territorial attorneys general to ensure that. Crown attorneys were educated and trained about applying the Westray Amendments. Special Crown prosecutors be responsible for health and safety fatalities. Police are educated and trained about applying the Westray Amendments. Health and safety regulators are educated, trained, and directed to reach out to police when they think Westray Amendment charges are warranted. There is great coordination among regulators, police, and Crowns. The challenge was how to launch the national campaign, a campaign not driven by a health and safety issue, but instead by the campaign's real nature as important union and social issue. Workplace death and serious injury and disease do not discriminate, nor are they random and without cause. Steelworkers knew that senior levels of government at the federal and provincial levels were not really interested in addressing the issue and were pointing fingers at each other. They knew that the media had interest in only sensational stories. Their campaign began by taking it to communities, which included asking steelworker members to build support among their families and friends. Support grew to include community-based groups, First Nations, police, politicians, and other unions. Victims and survivors also came forward. They experienced firsthand the pain of injustice created by the absence of enforcing the law that was designed to prevent death and injury. Their campaign has made progress right across the country. Workers have recognized that dying for a living isn't just a workplace issue, it is a community issue. But we are still in a struggle to achieve our ultimate goal. That is, better and consistent enforcement and prosecution of companies, their directors, and executives for deliberate actions that kill and injure workers. In January of this year, for the first time, the Westray Amendments were used to sentence a manager at Metron Construction for the deaths of 4 workers in Toronto. In sentencing, Ontario Superior Court Judge Ian MacDonald gave the manager 3.5 years and said he needed to impose a significant term to make it clear to others that they have a serious obligation to ensure the safety of their workers. Judge MacDonald also noted that the manager decide the interests of the company outweighed the risk of the work safety. That decision in 2009 led to 6 workers being on a scaffold 13 stories above the ground with only 2 lifelines. When the scaffold collapsed, 4 workers were killed and 1 injured. Only the worker wearing a safety harness survived uninjured. The trial also brought light a history of numerous safety violations at that company. The USW's Ontario Atlantic Director, Marty Warren, said, if employers see this concurrent sentence as a deterrent to negligence and to the urge to gamble with workers' lives, then we may see gradual improvement in health and safety. So in closing, on this day of mourning, we reflect on the importance of accountability for health and safety in our workplaces, the need for education so both workers and employers know their rights and responsibilities, and we look forward to working together to make changes that ensure all workers are safe on the job and that our communities are healthy and strong. Municipal support is a building block of this work. Our communities where we live, work and play help us establish support so we can reach these goals. Every year on April 28th, we recommit ourselves to fight for the living, mourn for those we've lost. As citizens, everyone here today can help us make a difference. In 2 workplace explosions that happened in BC in 2012. The Babin sawmill explosion in Burns Lake followed 3 months later by another explosion in Prince George at Lakeland Sawmill. 4 workers died, 44 were seriously injured, and hundreds more suffered emotional scarring in the aftermath of these horrific events. Premier Clark opted for the coroner's inquest instead of a public inquiry. That coroner's inquest was adjourned indefinitely over a year ago. We ask that the individuals go online to www.usw.ca and sign the petition demanding that Premier Christy Clark call for a public inquiry into the Babin and Lakeland sawmill explosions. On Tuesday, April 28th at 7:30 a.m., please join us at the Pier Park in New Westminster to commemorate the day of mourning for workers killed and injured on the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for that informative information. Is there any questions? Oh, Councillor LaFranc.
Thank you for your presentation today. It's very close to my heart, as my dad was in a workplace injury many years ago and he was a faller on the West Coast and spent a year in hospital. And that was a very common occurrence. It's a very dangerous job as working in the forest industry. So it is close to my heart. I'll be there on the 28th. I think we're having one locally, though. So thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Mayor Hepner.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation today. We take workplace safety very seriously here in the city of Surrey, and you should know that we have proclaimed already the April 28 day as a day of mourning, and we will be hosting our workplace safety and participating in those that CUPE are holding right here in the city of Surrey. So thanks for your presentation, and thanks for continually reminding us that at the end of the day we want everybody to go home to their families.
Once again, thank you for your presentation. If I could have someone move adjournment. Seconder, call the question. All in favor, against, carried.